Hi again then guys, and welcome to another specific review in the world of course, GT Sport, and this time we're taking a look at something a bit different. Not a car review in a traditional sense, that's for sure, and although this might sound surprising given how many cars I've reviewed in not just Gran Turismo but a ton of different games as well, it might be surprising that this is the first kart review I've actually done, even though there were far more karts in GT6. Now I do plan to review those in this same series, Random Reviews, and for those who are maybe new to it, this is basically a playlist where I put all of the cars that don't fit into a traditional series. So you've got stuff like karts, Formula cars, the Renault Espace F1, the Jay Leno tank car, that kind of thing. Something which doesn't really have enough of them in the game to justify an entire series. Now with the karts, it's a little bit different. Because of course, in GT Sport we only have one, and it's this one, the 125 shifter. But in GT6 we had far more. Even Senna's kart, of course, was added with two other cars as well. Now this car is one which single-handedly, to show my cards early in the video, made me completely change my stance on driving karts in Gran Turismo. And I would say that there are few vehicles in the game so far that have actually had as much of a radical change for me in terms of how much I enjoy driving it. Because the main reason why I haven't reviewed the karts in GT6 yet is because I hate them. I find the handling completely unrealistic and ridiculous. Having driven karts multiple times in real life, they just don't feel like the majority of them do in the game. This one though actually feels much closer to the actual karts that I raced in, or drove in really with friends, not as much of a real race. But I actually really enjoy driving this kart in GT Sport. Now for those who maybe aren't aware of how you can unlock this car, or don't have it yet, perhaps maybe you're brand new to the game, it's very easy to get. You don't even have to buy it. It is one of those absolutely free cars, and all you have to do is watch the two sportsmanship or driver's etiquette videos basically, and then you get one for free. So it's very easy to get, and most of the stuff that they'll teach you, if you're not new to racing games completely, you'll know a lot of it anyway. But the kart itself actually has a pretty decent spec. Now of course it's not going to rival most of the cars in the game in terms of performance, although funnily enough it is actually quicker than a few of them. It's faster than the Fiat 500, it's faster than the Samba bus, and this might be a surprise, but it's actually faster than the BMW i3 as well, due to the fact that that one doesn't have a very good top speed, whereas this kart can go over 100 miles per hour. And if I recall correctly, I think I tried out a gearbox flip with super long ratios in reverse and actually got it over 100 miles per hour in reverse as well, but I might be remembering that wrong. I think I did that though. But as far as the specs that this one's got, as the name suggests, of course, it is a 125cc engine, mid-engine rear-wheel drive, which makes it sound spicier than it actually is, of course, like a mini supercar, and the power is actually really good. 49 horsepower in a vehicle that literally weighs less than I do, 105 kilos. That's a pretty incredible amount of power to have, actually. Now, the torque is not quite as impressive, but of course, with such a small amount of weight, why would it need to be? It's got 18 pound-feet, but the most impressive thing easily about the kart is the horsepower per tonne, because it's such a lightweight car that even though it doesn't have 500, 600, 700 horsepower, I mean if it did it would be probably undrivable, but even though it doesn't have anywhere near that, in fact it's only double digits in terms of power, this thing puts out more horsepower per tonne than the average super sports car and even some supercars. 467 horsepower per tonne is insanely high for this car, or for this kart, I should say. Now, you'd probably expect that that would give you at least some element of pretty good trackability, and you'd be right, because this isn't just faster than a couple of the cars in a straight line for top speed, it's actually quicker than they are through corners too, because the kart or a kart in real life is actually one of those vehicles where, because it's comparatively much slower than a car, and the weight is so low, the centre of gravity is so low, but at the same time, in comparison to its weight and its size, it's an extremely wide vehicle, so it's got great stability through corners, which of course you'd kind of have to have, unless you want to kill yourself. but as a result of that, it actually handles something like a tiny version of a Red Bull, and you can absolutely fly around corners in this kart. As you can see around this circuit, after the first, say, lap or so, I was taking every corner at full throttle. Now, you name a car that you can do that with. Of course, most cars are a lot quicker, so it's not really a fair comparison, but still, it goes to show the kind of ability that something like this can have against things that you might not think it could actually beat. And that's the great thing about a racing kart on any game that it's featured on, and that is, although the acceleration can be beaten by a car, the top end speed certainly can, there are relatively few normal cars. Albeit, of course, like sports cars, supercars, of course they can, but relatively few normal cars that can match the kind of average speed through corners that a kart can. And when you get a kart with a big engine like this one, a 125 is a big engine for a kart. I mean, you compare that to the kind of karts that you pay to ride, that's not even close. And it's actually something of a tiny supercar when you actually drive it. The fact that you can go over 100 is just an added bonus. So overall, if you, for whatever reason, don't own the kart yet, which the majority of you guys probably do, I would actually recommend giving it a try. There's not that much that you can do to it, and unfortunately, but not surprisingly, it is of course in Group X, which makes sense. I mean, this would be a very, very OP vehicle if it was in N100. Ironically, it would actually be able to beat probably all of the cars at that level, essentially, apart from detuned ones like the Alpine. But it is kind of a shame that there's not like an N50 category. I think that would be pretty cool for vehicles that have only less than 50 horsepower. Put this thing up against the Fiat 500 and that kind of thing. But of course, for obvious reasons, they don't have that. Either way though, this is a very fun little approach to a kart. I would definitely say that the way that they've implemented the kart in the game in terms of the physics, the handling, is easily worlds, streets ahead of in Gran Turismo 6. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, it easily took me from not having the time of day for any of the karts in GT6 to actually really enjoying driving this one in the game now. Plus the fact that you can apply livery to it just adds to the cool factor, and you could, like I have here, apply a horror livery like the Babadook. But overall, give it a try if you haven't already. It's the kind of car that when you start the game, it could very easily end up just sitting in your garage and never being driven. But I would recommend driving it at least once, just to have a bit of fun with it. But that's it for this pick overall. Of course, I'll see you guys next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.